Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to You've Championed Yourself. Who are you? I'm Chris Ferguson, your host. It has always been my dream to showcase people who have taken their dreams, their ideas, and then turned it into their reality. As they reach beyond their personal struggles, their pains, their traumas, so many people give up and they lose hope. The people I'm talking about are the few that can walk through their obstacles and challenges. They don't know where they're going. They don't know what the future holds. They're just trusting themselves enough not to give up, do the follow through in their personal life, their career, and in relationships. They've championed themselves. My interview today is with Red Star Woman. She's an amazing individual. She's very, very intuitive. I call her sister. And so we're really, really connected and I love her deeply. But she's not blood relative, but she's a spiritual relative and she has so much to share with the world. And I'm so glad to have her on my podcast today. So let's welcome Red Star Woman. How are you?
Hello. I'm good.
My first question to you is I'm looking for the backstory. What got you into your spiritual practice where you are today?
A number of things. I was curious in the beginning. I had been on the search for healing because at this time I was full-blown fibromyalgia. I had pain that emanated all throughout my body, just constant. It was hard to live like that. It was hard to function with 3 children, keep up with, let alone house duties. So, and along that came with that was like the fevers. When my eyes start opening more to like something was deeper that was going on, I, at this time I was going to the doctor, and when I would go to the ER, I was pregnant with, my most recent child. She's 5 now, but during the pregnancy, I was having these fevers. I was having all these aches and pains. And so, of course, being pregnant, that's a precaution. Go get checked out. And when I would get to the doctor, they would read my temperature. My temperature would read normal. And so I was like, what in the world is going on? There's something going on. Why can't I, couldn't sleep, couldn't barely eat, keep up with my own self because it was hard. And so I was like, well, this isn't working. I think it was past the 4th or 5th time I went to the doctor for the same thing, right? And being sent out with antibiotics was like, okay, so there's something else going on. I know it is. Like, the doctor can't pinpoint it. And so just going through those thoughts and those feelings, I started stepping back into the traditional ways of going to sweat ceremony. And those have opened my eyes even more. And learning, like the abilities and everything that we carry within our, unmasked through our trauma healing. So while I'm going back to ceremony, while I'm going back to sweat, I'm going through these healings, the filtering of the emotions, the crying, letting go of all the traumas, letting go of all the hurt and pain. At one point, I had went through a 4-day healing, and I talk about this in a lot of my work. Is that during this 4-day, 4-night healing, it was filtering through the emotions. It was crying. It was getting angry. It was uncontrollable. And my spirit was who had led me through that whole process was like, no, you have to fill through this. You have to get through this, and you have to do it on your own. So I'm sitting there on my bed, like, society today makes you feel like you're crazy when you're going through things like this. And so I was sitting there, I was praying, crying, getting mad, all of that. And all of a sudden I start, like, my spirit was telling me it's okay. You have to let this go. It's okay. And at this time, this was when COVID first hit. And within that healing, I also was taken through like what my grandparents had went through. A lot of trauma from being forced out of their homes. In this place they called Elbow Woods, North Dakota. They were forced out of their homes, in order to build a dam for electricity.
Mm.
So no place to go, not knowing what they're going to do. Through this healing, I learned a lot, sitting with my grandparents, my grandfathers, my grandmothers. I was like, wow, so through the whole COVID thing, it was like a forced structure to control, right?
Yeah.
So that triggered a lot of healing within me. And then a lot of things came to my understanding, my own, like, started building compassion for the things that even my mom and my dad went through, the parenting that I endured. Um, was like, oh, okay, this is why it's this way, and this is why I was, this happened to them,
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. It just kept going, going. Um, and I think it was like pretty much the third day going through this healing, it's where I started to understand like where dysfunctions came from. Um, I was taken through a healing, and this is pretty heavy stuff, but I mean, it's coming out now,
Mm-hmm.
but and it's coming to surface. Everything is coming to surface. So it's just being mindful of that. But in this healing, I was taken to through what two of my grandfathers endured, and that was the residential schools.
Mm-hmm.
I was taken through how they were treated, what they went through, and then where the abuse came from.
Mm-hmm.
We're all, it just became a pattern from then on. Um, Again, a forced structure.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I was able to move through my healing and understand, like, I'm not the only one that went through this. I'm not the only one. Like, my parents went through it. My grandparents went through it. And it was like
Tier system, it's a tier system because it goes
yes,
from here to there to there to there,
yes,
and it just keeps going on, and no matter how deep you go, it just continues.
yes. And it's still like that. I mean, discovering that you're never fully healed
Yes.
and learning that, there's always something else to learn helps you keep moving forward. Um, and so teaching my children about the things that I had witnessed and the things that our family and our ancestors have went through was like, this is why things are like the way they are now.
Mm-hmm.
We have families that are not getting along because of the things that happened before them, and not, that's not aware to them, you know. So it's also
Mm-hmm.
building boundaries for yourself, the care, the self-care for yourself, your children, your home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Being able to just step back and say this isn't for me is so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, so like just going through that healing and then the dreams really they happened. They
Mm-hmm.
just took off, showing me through many generations of trauma, even back to the wars.
Mm. I have those too. And mine was from, I was never raised on the reservation. I was never raised around natives because my mother was white, my dad was native, and he was in the military. So we moved all over the world. We went to Germany, we went here, we went there, and then we settled. His last duty station with us as a family was in Colorado Springs. And at 4, I had a near death experience. And when you come out of that, you have a different understanding of the world and life and death because you don't understand. Well, at 4, I didn't understand it because you don't have much comprehension. But as time comes up, but then I had another near death experience when I was 15. And then you have a different understanding because now you comprehend a little bit more and a little bit more.
Mhm.
And then I dealt with cancer. I dealt with a head-on car collision. And then 10 years ago, I thought I was having chest pains. And I drove myself 50 minutes north to a heart hospital because I'm thinking I'm having a chest pains. My husband is still working down in South Florida. I have nobody here. And I go up there and they said, Miss Chris, your heart's fine, but we're going to have to admit you. And I said, oh, really? Why? What's wrong? And they said, well, you have two pulmonary embolisms, one in each lung. And most people don't survive one embolism, much less two. So with these blood clots, they said, we're going to have to admit you. So I stayed in the hospital for a week. And during that week, I mean, it was like I had been in a shamanic practice for the last 40 years, but it was the culmination of everything just blowing wide open. It was getting beyond all the paradigms, all the programmings, all the traditions, all the cultures. It was just blowing open. And the one thing is most people don't know is I grew up in an orphanage. My dad walked away and then my mother walked away. And the last thing she said to the matron is, you better watch them. They're heathens. So I was
Mhm.
like, yeah. So I understand the trauma of it wasn't a residential facility like they had up in South Dakota, but the trauma and the pain were the same. Two girls tried to murder me out at that orphanage, and I had to fight for my life. I literally could not breathe. So the fact is I, like you, it is very personal. It is very emotional. It is very resounding. But the fact is my dad, he never knew his dad because when in that time when his mom got pregnant, they refused to allow them to get married. They
Mhm.
refused to allow them have a relationship because he was Native American. And she was sent off to Denver to have her child, my dad, at a woman's home for unwed mothers to birth their baby in this place, so nobody knew. So when she showed up back at where she lived, they just had an addition to the family. He was like number 14 to the family of 13 siblings. So his mom was actually treated like his aunt or his sister. So unfortunately, this seems to be a trend. This seems to be have going on for many, many lives. And so with that, this is why I really wanted to interview you is because of the compassion, because of the love and willing to look at things and bring it to light and be able to speak about it. Because so many people who hold it within, they turn to addictions, they turn to alcohol, and that's what happened in my family. And so I know it's true on the reservations also, and that's the saddest part. But if we can acknowledge the fact that people were done wrong, they're not a conquered people. This is their land, and it's sacred.
Mhm.
It can start the healing process between people. It gets beyond the ignorance, it gets beyond the hate, it gets beyond the not knowing, because a lot of people don't know history. They try to rewrite it every chance they can, so the truth doesn't come out. But one of my prayers and one of my intentions has always been for this year to allow what was done in the dark to surface, bring it to the light, so that people have the ability to heal.
Mhm.
And I thought you would be the perfect person to bring in and to talk about this. But now tell me about your how do you set your boundaries? Because I teach boundaries to people. So I'm kind of curious how you set your boundaries because I know how I teach people about boundaries.
Okay. Well, for me, it's like the basic principles of respect. Like you're kind to me, I'm kind to you. If like with the boundaries of like my self-care even. If I mean I do that for myself and I make that like a priority at least once a week, in-depth self-care routine because a lot of people don't know how much they carry
Yes.
and we become depleted, and this is where sickness is created. So just keeping that mindful, like for me, was like, when I get tired, no, I'm not doing nothing today. I'm going to rest. So that's my personal self-care boundary. But with other individuals, it's like, okay, I know you're going through a lot, but I will disengage. I will walk away when I see a pattern.
Mhm.
because for me, it's not good to keep going through those situations. I mean, it took me a long time to get to where I'm at, to
Mhm.
fully still respect that person, respect myself, and respect the situation. But at the same time, understand that like we're not getting anywhere. This
Yes.
is this is not going to work. It hasn't worked yet. I'm trying this, and this. Okay, so this is where I need to disengage. This is where I'm not going to put more energy into this. That type of thing. Um, and that's across the board with anybody.
Mhm.
That's just safety lines, also spiritual safety lines, you want to call, right?
Yes,
Like you don't want
that's
to
a good way
keep
of putting it.
poking, you don't want to keep trying because you're going to become also depleted too.
Mhm. Or
Yes,
drained,
yes,
completely drained, and you're not gonna know where. It's gonna be one of those blind spots that hit you.
yeah.
So the one of the ways that when I talk about boundaries and personal boundaries, I tell people to think about being on an airplane. Let's go take a trip. Let's get on an airplane. Doesn't matter where we fly, but the stewardess is going to give us a safety briefing. She's going to tell us, or he's going to tell us how to put our seatbelts on because of turbulence, that we have a waterproof vest in case we, crash into the water. This is how you inflate it. And then the last one is the most important step because boundaries are steps. It's learning them, then starting to practice them, and then mastering them on that third step. And they tell you that a mask is going to come down, and we're at 30,000 feet and we have no air. The cabin has
Mhm,
totally decompressed. Most giving people want to run around and help everybody else, but the next breath that they take, they have no air. So now they've become a part of the problem, where if you put your mask on you first, you can help everybody out and actually be, of help and of service, instead of becoming the next problem of somebody else not putting on their mask and trying to help you because they don't know, or they're panicking because of the situation. So that's the way I teach boundaries, because so many people don't know, they don't understand, they don't realize how they compromise themselves. So I,
mhm,
I appreciate you speaking up, especially about the spiritual boundaries, because many people don't do that. How many people go to church and they praise and praise and praise and walk out the door and leave it all in the church? I mean, it's that kind of stuff. So it is a daily practice, and I
mhm.
love the way you explained it. But talk to me about your singing.
Nice seeing you.
Yes. The videos that you do on YouTube of singing, and it's actually healing. I've listened to all of them
Mhm.
and they're amazing.
Thank you. Well, I just started a few months ago, of course, in the form of dreams. So I was like, great, now I have to do this. Because you get these simple tasks, right?
Mhm.
And yes, it's upon your choice. So it was one of those things, dreaming about the singing bowl. I was like, okay, this is part of, oh, okay, just gathering my items and keep going. Um, so then I kept hearing sing, bring it to life, sing. And I'm like, what am I supposed to sing? I come from a structured mindset where you have to have this in order. You have to do it this way. You have to, so then I heard trust yourself. And I was like, okay, you're gonna have to help me with a tune or something because it's hard for me, you know?
Okay,
And
yeah, we
so
want you to be creative, just figure it out.
yeah. So I just again I was looking for a tune and part of the tune that the video that I have came from a dream. So I'm adding to that. I'm working with that, then the singing bowl, and then because I do singing with the singing bowl as well.
I know. I'm glad you said that. But you also do it in a native tradition, and I love that also. It's mixing the two totalities together that make it so impressive. The
Hmm.
thing was is that's what the creative that came to me recently, over the last couple months, is doing the healing prayers on Wednesday night because of everything going on in COVID. There's so many people lost. There's so many people just don't know what to do anymore because of everything that's happened. There's so many losses, so many hurts, so many pains, businesses wiped out, families ruined completely, so many more homeless people. It is just horrible. So I've been doing that weekly healing prayers, and then I do a Sunday night meditation just to get everybody out of their own way so that they can start Monday morning positive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like you are doing what I can to help people get beyond, the egoic mind and the thoughts, because that's where a lot of their problems come. And yes, you hit it on the head earlier, and I wanted to bring it up when you said when it's from within you. If you heal yourself, you have the ability to heal yourself. It's just you have to get out of your mind. You have to get out of that mindset that brings in the negativity, because if you realize how negative words can be, they
Mm-hmm.
actually, in my estimation, turn into curses towards people. So if
They
there's
do.
jealousy or envy or hate, they actually put it on somebody. So I, like you, if I see somebody treating somebody bad, I don't want them as my friend, because they're gonna do the same thing with me. So I'll just excuse myself from the table from that relationship. And I love the fact that you also explained that. But what else? What other talents do you do? Art? Are you and your daughter doing jewelry that I saw?
Yeah. We just started the healing journey. She's really, I mean, it just opened her eyes. I'm like, go ahead, do what comes to mind. Don't try to control it. And it was so funny because the next day she had 14 bracelets done, right? And that's just overnight. She was just going, going, going. And at the end of the night, I seen one that had a different ending to it. Like it was different, right? Like no pattern. It was just because I kept telling him, just do what comes to mind. Make it a pattern, make it look nice. You know what you want to do. And then so that following evening, I was like, how come this one looks like this? I said, it doesn't. So it has a pattern. She's like, well, I was just doing what came to mind. She couldn't cut after me. I was like,
How,
oh,
how old
okay.
is she now? How old is she?
She's 9. She'll be 10 in December. So we also we're working on painting jewelry too, just to bring that energy to light. We love to paint canvases. Working on, I should have brought it in here, but I have some healing pouches that are coming too, like sewn, for the purpose of the items, keeping them in a safe place and keeping them covered. That's
Mhm.
a very, it seems like it's a very important,
To protect it.
mm, your
Yeah.
stones, your items, your tools,
That's
all
why I
those
sage
things.
mine a lot. I use them a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, have you ever seen that meme in Facebook where they have that house where they're saging and the smoke's coming out from underneath the attic and it's just billowing out? That's close to here, just close. I might have it on a higher level, but that's close to here. But um, what got you into sound healing? Because I'm interested about this.
I had the whole dream of the songbook or the singing book just lit everything up. I was like, why am I dreaming about this? There are reasons that I finally came to that. Oh, I get it now. Okay, I got to use this now. I got to fight with myself, the
Right.
humanness, and then the constant flow of things, right? Like, what? Sometimes I'll question, but when I get through that, I'm like, oh, okay, let's just work on this now. But when I started the sound healing, made that tune, my husband created the music for it, and then he was already working on it. And he's like, meditation music. I was like, oh, cool. And then all of a sudden, they're like, you got to make a song, and I'm like, what? You got all the
One more
tools, and
thing
I'm
to
like,
do.
we got to do this now. Okay, we're doing this now, I guess. It was one of them things, and
Right.
so he already had one made. I was like, well, we kind of have to alter the tune a little bit, like make it a little bit slower, so it fits that tune. It fits the hertz, the whole vibe of the song. And
Mhm.
so he did that, and it was a matter of minutes, and it was put together. I was like,
Wow.
oh wow, okay.
Most people don't realize that this earth is a frequency. It has its
Mhm.
own frequency. And if they can get in touch with frequencies, that's how they can heal themselves. So that's the reason why I wanted to bring up about sound healing. But you also do channeling.
Mhm.
Want to talk about that?
It just, I mean, a lot of us have these abilities, right? We're all
Yes.
gifted in a certain way. So I just kind of want to bring that to awareness also because yeah, there are people that are multi-gifted, you know, and there are people that are meant for a certain thing, right? In a certain way and
Yeah.
how they find out. So just I don't know why they want it. That's channeling right there, guys.
Well, the thing was, is after when I was 4, my near-death experience, I had those imaginary friends, as they would call them back. Oh, they're just have an imaginary friend. It's just somebody made up in their mind. Mine weren't made up in my mind because there was different ones each coming. They would help me hide when my mom and dad would fight. So I could literally crawl under my bed at 4, 5, 6, pull the blankets there and just lay flat against the wall and nobody would find me. They couldn't see me. They didn't know where I was. They looked and looked and looked. But I found myself learning how to be invisible.
Hmm.
And then I started seeing things through other people's eyes, what they went through, what they spot, what happened. And so as over the years, it's gotten a lot deeper, more intense, more visual, more bright colors. All of the whole scenario is seen instead of just bits and pieces. It used to be just like a photograph. I would
Hmm.
get a photograph and then another photograph, and usually they were not in black and white, but it was just no real noticeable colors.
Yeah.
And so I understand what it is to see things and understand things, but with your healing, how is that something you use with your channeling, or is that something you do separately, like Reiki or traditional healing? Or like with me, I have it's the I think it's the quantum physics is what you use. So I'm kind of like asking, are you doing it on a quantum physics level, galactic level? How do you do your healings?
That's a very interesting question because for a lot of people that come for the help that is there, that is. Oh, let me think about this one. I haven't really sat with this question before.
Okay.
Mm, it's a multitude of things. I have never taken a Reiki class, so just putting that out there because they were really adamant about, okay, it's not Reiki. Because in the beginning, I was like, oh, it's kind of like Reiki, but the more I did it, it's not like Reiki.
It's it's not. But just so you know, I am a master Reiki because through the process it was like, but then I also I'm older than you are. So it was transcendental meditation back in the 70s when they were starting coming out with it, and the Reiki and the neuro linguistic programming. I never did that. But I got into the transcendental meditation, tried to understand why I was having the visions that I was having.
Hmm.
But I'd have a vision, and then on TV, it's something, whatever I saw would be on the news on the TV. I was driving home one day and I saw this picture of this little boy. It was like a video. This little boy was carrying this puppy. He's like 4 years old, 5 years old, and he's carrying this puppy, and it's a puppy, and he throws it in the street. And I was like, "What do you mean you're throwing this puppy in the street? Where is this? Let me go get this puppy." And so I called my husband and I said, "Oh my gosh, I just had the weirdest vision." And he goes, "Oh, honey, it's nothing. It's nothing. It was just one of those things." So I got home, we fixed dinner, we sit down, and on the news, this neighbor videotaped his neighbor, a person videotaped their neighbor son, who was 5 years old, carrying a puppy and throwing it out in the street because he'd seen dad do it before.
Oh my gosh.
So and then my husband looked at me and he was kind of like,
Oh my god. What?
because I just told him 45 minutes an hour before this is what I had seen. And this wasn't even in my town. It wasn't anywhere close to me. And so I'm like, and so at that point he goes, okay, it's your hoodoo voodoo. It's your hoodoo voodoo. Let's just describe it as hoodoo voodoo. And I says, it's not even any of that. It's just energy.
Yeah. And it's crazy because we do, I mean, I'm pretty sure you go through this too, as you know, somebody who facilitates what you do. You hear a lot of, you probably think I'm crazy. You probably think I'm just seeing shit, right? And I'm like, no, because let me tell you something. I can see it too, you know? You have to,
But for me, it was a little bit different because I've been in law enforcement for 40 years. And so there was a duality there. I didn't let anybody know that because it's all about the facts, just the facts, nothing but the facts.
yeah, yeah,
But in my personal life, I've been doing these missing, murdered individuals for the last 10 years, and with success of locating them and bringing them home to their family members, because nobody should go through that. Nobody should not know where their child is and they've just fallen off the planet, and that's the end. No parent should
yeah.
ever go through that. So with that, it's most people don't understand that you have the ability to do anything you can. It's just getting beyond your closed mind.
Your humanness. I like to call it humanness. Like,
What does our
and
friend
then,
say? Oneness, funness.
yeah, really. But with the how it came to be, like the healing that we were talking about,
Mhm.
if we really understand it, like this is for those out there that are kind of opening their eyes. It's all about trusting yourself, all about trusting all the abilities that you have,
Mhm.
and knowing that, you know, you actually really do believe in yourself is like the major key that unlocks everything within you. Um,
Especially when people tell you you're crazy.
yeah.
Stick to your power, stick to your intuition, stick to your knowing.
Because I've had a a male person tell me that doesn't mean you're like this or that, you know, and I'm like, you know, why'd you have to say that? You know, it's the you'll see the ego pop out at you the more you work with your abilities. You'll see it, you'll feel it, be like, no, that's not for me. You know, being able
Mhm.
to still respect and move away. Because we don't learn like that. We don't learn
Mhm.
being forced into a belief. We
Right.
don't learn like not like really thoroughly learn who we really are if we're
Mhm.
structured under another person's belief system.
Right. Well, the one thing that started me off, I mean, at 4, I was really, after I had my near death experience and questioning things and going through a couple things. And then when I went out to the orphanage, I became non auditorial. I didn't speak, I didn't talk to anybody. I had so much anger and hate. And I hated the church because it was the priest that recommended that he help her. And she had the opportunity not to walk away. She had the opportunity to go home and be with her family. They offered, but she chose to put 6 kids. The youngest was 5. The oldest was 10 out at the orphanage and walk away.
Mm,
That's an active choice. So the fact is when you learn hate, I remember I was 8. I was chasing after her as she was driving away. I ran out of my shoes and she accelerated. At that moment in time, I stopped. And that was like it was like this lightning of it was just anger. I can't explain it any other way. It was just this lightning of anger. And at that point I hated the world. I hated
mm,
everybody in it, anything, any churches, religion, organized religions, anything like that that could take away. I mean, our family was dysfunctional to begin with, but when she had the opportunity to keep the family together, she chose to rip us apart. And so that's what happens many, many times. Or they go send you to grandma's, or they go send you aunties, or they send you somebody in family so there's still a connection. This didn't happen. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I stayed non-auditorial. And it was just crazy because people are you stupid? I'd punch them. I just got very angry and I got very strong. And with anger, you can get physically strong and hurt people. So I chose not to do anything until I could deal with my anger. And it took years. It took
Mhm.
absolutely years. So I understand that, but the one thing I found is I don't judge people. I'm a humanitarian. I don't judge people. I don't judge somebody that's committed a crime and they're doing their time. They're a human being still to me.
Mhm.
And so is their
That's
victim. Their victim is still a human being to me. But I'm not going to judge their actions because who knows? It could be addiction, it could be alcohol, it could be any number of things that was the reason for it. But I'm not going to invite him to live with me or marry them or bring him in his family and say, here, because you're a criminal, I'm going to do this. No, I'm not going to do that. You're going to have to find your own way to help yourself.
mhm.
And so I think that's how I'm interpreting what you're saying as far as, people judging you and say, well, you're not this, you're not that. Well, okay, well, you're not Superman either. I mean, that's how I think, because now that I'm out as far as an energy healer and a channeler and a card reader and um, now the podcast, you should see the reactions I'm getting from law enforcement. Oh my God. Well, guys, guess what? I passed a polygraph. I passed a psychological. I'm not crazy.
I passed all your
I
tests. You
have
did the
the
test.
documentation. That's, because they're all about documentation. I have the documentation. I'm not
Do
crazy.
you see the scale?
Exactly. So the fact is it's just like, what? Most people don't realize that in spirituality, you actually get closer to your God, your creator, whatever you want to call it, than if you were in a church going through somebody else. It's a direct connection. I don't have to go through, hook
Mhm.
up to the electricity to go up to the sky to my creator. I go straight to him. I've cursed him out. We have a very personal relationship
Mhm.
between us because of trauma and pain.
And even it's like when people find out, I mean, it's more common now, but when they find their true power, they can go within and go directly right where they want to be and for the answers that they are looking for. When they know that, it becomes more like, wow, that is right. Where versus we're going to so and so everywhere. We're constantly asking questions to somebody who
Doesn't know.
doesn't know what it's like to be in our shoes.
Hmm.
You know, have they been? And the other thing that I really look at, and I think it's very important, is to know like the core values of the person that you're actually going to for help. Have
Hmm.
they been through the same thing you've been through? Do they talk and openly admit to the things that they've been through? Do they share their story with you?
Hmm.
Because for me, that's important. I
Yes.
mean, it's important to tell your story to those who come for help. Why? Because it helps them move forward. It doesn't keep them binded in a certain way. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yes.
Um, so yes, like true story is the big key to helping somebody.
Right. It is being of service, but you have to, and I love the fact that you have to take care of yourself. You have to give to yourself to be able to continue giving out. And
Yeah,
if you don't have that practice going back and forth, you're no longer in harmony. And it is
yeah.
about staying harmonized inside yourself to be able to put out harmony to the world. And
Mhm.
that's an amazing understanding. And my next question is, where do you see you going in the future? Where do you want this to go? Where, I mean, I love the t-shirts you make. We haven't talked about that. You make some awesome t-shirts.
I know she's gonna talk about that.
I
I'm just
love
a
them.
human.
I
I'm just a
love that.
human on earth.
Teal is my favorite color. So the thing is teal and silver, which is both healing properties, but that teal with the earth on it was such an amazing idea. I love eclectic. And so I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And so I'm waiting to see what you do next with that when in all this time you have.
Yeah. Well, right now it's like everything kind of slowed down for a little while because my close family, like, we were going through some things, so I had to put something on for a little while,
Right.
till my emotions started getting better. And so I feel that coming back. Um, like even our spiritual team slowed things down, you know? And I was like, okay, so I'm just supposed to sit here through it? Okay.
Don't think nothing. Don't say nothing. Don't do
Yeah,
nothing. Just sit there. Just
yeah,
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
deal with this right now. But the t-shirts, like, that came from praying for the designs, praying for the symbols for the people. That came from just direct connection. Again, I'm just a human body.
And well, I call it being hollow bones. They use you as a vessel to get the message out.
Yeah,
And so, and that's another thing that is very loving in you, is because you are hollow bones and you do bring the message out and you do help people. That's why I guess our connection is like, because of, we have parallel lives in some instances, and some, and we have, it goes so deep that it's just like, okay, it just, she's my sister.
yeah. I felt that with you too.
Yeah. And so it's just like, okay, but one day we will meet. One day we will meet, and um, I was told we were going to work together doing something.
Yeah, I did. I heard that too. It was a big group of us, actually. I got the number 12 first to start with, but like,
I was
okay, we're
I
just
was told
gathering.
five,
Hmm.
a core group of five,
But it's going to be so much bigger than that.
and I agree with that. I agree with that. So it'll be amazing to see what comes, and it's, I'm just like, okay, universe, show me, just show me, creator. Let's you show me what to do, and I'm on it.
Yeah, you bring whoever I'm supposed to work with, but you better make sure they're ready because I'm not messing around.
Exactly. Well, the thing is I just went through a forensic cleaning of my Facebook, got rid of low vibing people and people not, engaging and doing things, because I always realized that one of the things, well, I didn't always realize it, but one of the things that I realized was that that low hanging rotting fruit is just going to magnify, and it just pulls you down. So it's time to clean it up, get rid of it, declutter, do whatever you need to do to raise those vibrations up again.
Mhm.
So my next question for you, young lady, is how can people get a hold of you if they want to work with you for healing or channeling or sound healing? How can they contact you?
They can contact me through my Facebook or my email. Facebook page is Red Star Woman. My email is redstarwoman@yahoo.com. My website is, oh wait, that was my website.
That was.
My email is redstarwoman@yahoo.com. Yes.
And
And
YouTube. You have a YouTube page for
yep,
them
Red
to,
Star Woman.
okay, it's all redstarwoman.com.
Yep. And
Perfect.
my picture isn't on my YouTube page, but my grandmother's star quilt is. It's a old southwestern star quilt pattern.
Okay.
So you'll
So
see.
thank you so much for being here today. I truly am grateful. I love you. And I just, for some reason, I didn't know, but I've just been sending energy to you and your family, because I just always, that's what I do. If I feel somebody in need, I just send them energy, or I send energy to the state or the area to try to heal whatever I'm feeling. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much. And um, it's my pleasure. I'm so grateful. I'm just, it's my pleasure. I can't say anything more than that it's my pleasure. And if you'll just stand by for 1 second, hang on. Let me end out the podcast. It takes a special kind of individual to dream their thoughts and ideas and turn them into reality. Red Star Woman has stepped past her fears, stayed the course, and had the courage to follow through to the end. Yes, she is and has you she is and she has championed herself. Now we know who you've become. Thank you for sharing your ideas, your thoughts, your dreams with us today.